Hey friends, Miss Kaylee here. Welcome back to Global Gardens. Global Gardens is a space for you to get to explore the world around you, to be creative, and to be a scientist. We're going to get to do that through Global Gardens by doing science, through cooking, through doing art, and being mindful of who we are and our place in the world around us. So, before we get started, we're going to do something that is called Community Circle. We do this every time. What Community Circle is it's a time for you to breathe in the things that you want to hold on to, the good things, and you breathe out the bad things, maybe things that make you feel sad, distracted, worried, anxious. So you breathe in good, you breathe out bad. Go ahead, take a second. What do you want to breathe in and breathe out today? Okay, we're going to take 5 breaths. You're welcome to count with me. Remember, we're breathing in good, breathing out bad. So, go ahead, breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. The wind is breathing with us. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Last one, breathe in and breathe out. Thank you guys for joining me today for Community Circle. I hope you enjoy the rest of your time with Global Gardens today.
Hey everyone, what's up? It's Miss Karen here with Global Gardens. Today we're going to be learning about the water cycle and clouds. So, have you ever wondered where all our water comes from? Well, you're going to learn today how the Earth is always recycling the water that we have. So the water here on our Earth is all we've got. We can't create any more water and we can't destroy it. So that's why it's really important for us to preserve our water and be sustainable. The water we have now is the same water that was around when dinosaurs were around. It's the same water that was around when cavemen were here, during when George Washington was alive, when Harriet Tubman was here, and as well as our ancestors from like 4 generations ago. So I'm going to show you all how the water cycle works, the steps of it, how clouds are formed, the different types of clouds, and how the water cycle actually plays a role in the weather. So let's dive in. Welcome. We're going to learn about the water cycle. So before we dive into learning about the stages of the water cycle, I wanted to talk about the 3 states of water. So most of the time we think water is just a liquid. And while that is true, it also comes in 2 other forms or states. So I wanted to let you guys know what those states are. So here we have a solid. Water can freeze and turn solid. So this can be ice cubes, crushed ice, glaciers, ice caps in the Arctic. All of these are examples of solid water. We also have liquid, which is the most common one that we think about. So whether it's a river, an ocean, a puddle pooling up on the side of the road, even tears or a bottle of water at your house, all of these are the liquid state of water. We also have gas, so it's also referred to as water vapor. And this one is most of the time a little hard to see. So, for example, we have a geyser here in the picture, and the geyser is emitting steam. So you can see the geyser, the steam coming off from that. And another example would be if you're boiling water to make pasta, you see all that steam coming off from it. So all of that is water vapor. And a fun fact, all 3 of these states actually occur during the water cycle. The water cycle is a continuous movement of water on, above, and below the Earth's surface. So yeah, that's right. It occurs pretty much everywhere on Earth's surface. And a lot of times you won't actually be able to observe with your own eyes what's really going on because, some of it occurs below or way up high in the sky. So the water cycle is also called the hydrologic cycle. And hydro, whenever you hear that word, hydro has to do with water. And the key word here is continuous. So the water cycle doesn't ever start or end anywhere. It can't take a break. It's always moving, it's always pushing on. So the first step of the water cycle is precipitation. And this is when you have clouds in the sky and they're so dense and with water vapor and water droplets that they just need to, let it all go. So this can come in various forms. It can be rain, it can be sleet, snow, or even hail. So here I have some pictures to describe it. We have the rain cloud and we also have snowflakes. And you even have the hail right here. So where does precipitation go? You might be wondering that, and it's a really great question. So obviously, if it rains over a lake or another large body of water, the water droplets will go ahead and stay in those bodies of water. Usually the soil and dirt will absorb a lot of water too, and that's one example of the water cycle occurring below the Earth's surface. We can't actually see how much water is down below. We can't see what's going on down there, but you know that it's collecting water. But there's only so much water that can be absorbed by the soil and dirt. If you're walking on a sidewalk or in the road, the water pools up there too. So a lot of times it'll pool up there. It can also go down to these storm drains where it lands in a larger source of water. And even our gutters can collect the precipitation. And even though the gutter holds it, it won't hold it forever. So eventually it gets extracted out from there and it'll join the street or the road or the sidewalk, where it eventually will lead to another larger body of water. Cement can't absorb water. So that's why we humans have invented these systems where we have the storm drains to help collect all of that so that our roads don't flood and so that they don't become unsafe. Here are some larger bodies of water. You can have rivers, streams, tributaries. All these are larger water sources, and water droplets want to be where other water is. So they might join into these bodies of water. They can also lead eventually to a lake, which is larger than some of the other bodies of water, maybe even the ocean. So a lot of these water sources are all connected and they all can lead into each other. And some examples of all that water leading to another source is called runoff. So an example of surface runoff, if it rains over some of these hills that you see down below, the water can't just sit and pool up on top of that hill. Because of gravity and the way that the hill is made, it's not going to be able to hold that water. So that water is just going to go downhill and it's going to lead into maybe a stream. And that stream might lead into a river and so on. So that's an example of surface runoff. Snow melt runoff. So if there's snow melting on top of a mountain and that, it's going from the solid to the liquid state. So that snow that melted is going to lead into another body of water. The same thing with the Arctic. Unfortunately, because of climate change and global warming, rising temperatures aren't helping the Arctic, like the ice caps and all that. And when that melts, it just leads into maybe the Arctic Ocean or any of those liquid bodies of water that are nearby it. So those are some examples of runoff. Evaporation will occur next. And an easy way to remember this is that this is the liquid state of water to the gas or the water vapor state. So wherever the water is on Earth's surface, whether it's in a lake, right outside your gutter, in the ocean, or, on the side of the road, in a pool, in a puddle, it's going to evaporate. But in order to have evaporation, you need to have a heat source. And for example, we have the sun. So on warmer days, there will be more evaporation than on colder days. So heat plays a huge role in evaporation. Evaporation can come from groundwater, surface runoff, our bodies of water, and snow melting, so it can quickly evaporate depending on how hot it is. It's kind of like how an elevator takes us up a building. So water is leaving the Earth's surface and going up toward the sky, and eventually it'll form a cloud. Here are some more examples of evaporation just from our everyday lives. So, like I said before, boiling water, all of that water, the liquid state, is evaporating, turning into water vapor, going up. Warm air rises, so it's going up toward the sky. And like I mentioned before, you need the sun, a heat source. So because that boiling water is reaching a certain temperature, it's able to evaporate. A hot cup of coffee, tea, hot chocolate, any of those warm drinks, you see steam coming out from it. It's all evaporation. So our plants also play a role in the water cycle. Anything green, any plant, tree, flower, vegetable that you're growing, plants contain moisture. They hold water. They also need water, like us, to live. One process that goes along with evaporation is called transpiration. And this is a process of their water being evaporated in a way into the sky too. And that's going to contribute also to the water cycle. So this process is called transpiration. And it's when the plants are like sweating, pretty much. Transpiration and evaporation contribute to condensation, which is the next step of the water cycle. And this is a really crucial step. This is the part where it actually goes from the gas, the water vapor, back to a liquid. And what happens here is that this is the step where the clouds form. So that water vapor attaches to dust, any air particle. So it could be dust or pollen or smoke. They'll attach, they form, the water droplets, and those water droplets form clouds. This is what happens during condensation. So if we didn't have condensation, clouds wouldn't be able to form. So here are some examples of condensation, and this is just from our everyday lives. So if you ever have a glass of water or something, you'll notice condensation forming on the side of the glass. Same with windows. If you're driving down the road, or your parent is driving down the road and the windows fog up, or your window for your bedroom, depending on the humidity and the temperature and moisture in the air, condensation will form. So keep your eyes peeled for different examples and see how many you can find of condensation all around you. Now that we've learned all the steps of the water cycle, let's revisit all of them so that we can really remember what each step is, the names, and what they contribute to the water cycle. First of all, you need a heat source. Our sun, our happy sun, is in the sky and will play a role in the water cycle. First up, we have precipitation, and this is when it rains, it snows, it sleets, it hails, and the clouds release it all. They're just so dense, they need to let it all go. Runoff. So the water collects in some way, shape, or form on our streets, all around us, in an ocean, river, anything like that. And here are our plants, anything green around us. they contribute to transpiration. So this is where the plants are sweating, and all of that evaporates into the air. Evaporation comes from our streams, lakes, oceans, a puddle in the street. All of this will contribute and evaporate. This is when it's from the liquid and it goes into the gas, water vapor state. Condensation is up next, and this is when clouds form. So that gas is going to return back to the liquid state. So the water vapor attaches to the air particles, dust, pollen, anything in the air, they attach together and form a cloud. And the cycle repeats. Well, there you have it. There's the water cycle.
Hello, Global Gardeners. My name's Miss Jenny, and today we're going to read this awesome book together, All the Water in the World by George Ella Lyon and Catherine Tillotson. All the water in the world. Is all the water in the world? What does that mean? Water flows from the hose. It wobbles in blue pools. It fills your cup up. But where does it come from? Do you remember where water comes from? Where does it start? Water doesn't come, it goes around. And what's it called again when things go around and around? A cycle. That rain that cascaded from clouds and meandered down mountains, that wavered over waterfalls, then slipped into rivers and opened into oceans, that rain has been here before. Thirsty air licks it from lakes, sips it from ponds, guzzles it from oceans, and this wet air swirls up till it's crowded into clouds where it hangs hotly around, till cool air bumps through, and honey, those clouds, just let it go and rain, rain, rain. I don't know if you can hear it in the background, but it's raining outside my house right now. Tap dance, avalanche, stampede of drips and drops and drumming, a wealth of water. But far away, it's a different day. No sound but wind, empty cup again, dry grasses rustle, dirt's just dust. Everything waits for an open gate in a wall of clouds, for rain, sweet and loud, to fill the well and start the stream. Honey, living things dream of water, for all to drink, use in tub or sink, wash in, splash in. How many creatures can you find within this water? I see at least 5. This wet wonder means grow, means life will flow through tigers, through trees, through you and through me. All together now. All, so precious. Do not waste it. And delicious, we can taste it. Keep it clear, keep it clean. Keep Earth green. The end. So in this book, the author was referencing lots of things that Miss Karen just talked about. Do you remember what it's called when the water flows down the mountains and through streams after it has rained? It's called runoff. So the water runs down and collects ultimately into the ocean. Then what happens once it's in the ocean and rivers, and sometimes in plants? It kind of as this book describes it, it swirls up into the clouds. Do you remember what it's called? It starts with a T for plants and an E for bodies of water. Transpiration, which comes from leaves, and evaporation, which is the liquid water turning into vapor and swirling up into the air. And then in the clouds, remember what happens? It condenses into droplets called condensation. That sometimes happens outside our glasses too in the summer. And then, of course, the rain or the snow or the sleet is precipitation. And then it starts again. So it just keeps going in a cycle around and around. It's pretty cool to think about the fact that the water we drink is the same water the dinosaurs drank. So thanks for watching this week on Global Gardens. I hope you have a great day and can see the water cycle in action this week. See ya.
Now that we know all the stages of the water cycle, we're gonna make our very own water cycle in a bag. And the reason we're gonna do this is to be able to observe the water cycle with our very own eyes. So all you need is a permanent marker and a small Ziploc bag. And let me show you all how I did this. So using the marker, I just wrote out all the steps and with the arrows and all of that. And after you do that, what you do is you fill it up with about that much water for the collection. And then after you pour the water in there, what you're gonna do is seal it. And that helps to prevent from the water vapor escaping and evaporating. So once you seal it, you're actually going to tape it on a window. And because it's taped against a window, the water cycle will be able to occur because the sun is helping it evaporate. This is how it's going to look like once it's on the window. So now that we learned about the water cycle and all the steps of it, I wanted us to dig in a little deeper into learning about clouds, all the different kinds of clouds there are, and what makes each one, the specific characteristics. So to do that, I made a little song about clouds. So let's go take a listen, and I hope you enjoy.
Way up high in the atmosphere. Let's focus on the troposphere. Cirrus, looking like a lock of hair. Wispy, floating in the sky somewhere. Made up of millions of ice crystals. You already know. 1, 2, 3, 4. Clouds, look all around. Look up and down. Cirrus clouds are in big lights. Stratus clouds are hard to tell. Cumulus clouds are ugly and tall. Nimbus clouds create rainfall. Clouds, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Stratus, not talking about Dodge Stratus. Skirt. These featureless clouds have a layered look. They're gray and they cover the sky. Includes fog in the middle of the night. Night. That's right. Clouds, look all around. Look up and down. Cirrus clouds are in big lights. Stratus clouds are hard to tell. Cumulus clouds are ugly and tall. Nimbus clouds create rainfall. Clouds, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Nimbus. It literally means cloud in Latin. These low-level clouds precipitate. Rain, snow, hail, or sleet, make it rain. Cumulus. Puffy, fluffy, they look like bunnies. Floating cotton, they cannot be forgotten. Let's go. Clouds, look all around. Look up and down. Cirrus clouds are in big lights, stratus clouds are hard to tell. Cumulus clouds are puffy and tall. Cumulus clouds create rainfall. Clouds, clouds, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
Hey, did you know cloud names can be combined? For example, cumulus and nimbus makes cumulonimbus. Cumulonimbus
Science empowerment
combines both of their characteristics. Cumulonimbus
Science empowerment
combines both of their characteristics.
Whoa, whoa, Clouds, clouds, look all around, look up and down. Cirrus clouds are in big lights, stratus clouds are hard to tell. Cumulus clouds are puffy and tall. Cumulus clouds create rainfall. Clouds, clouds, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Clouds, clouds, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed my #1 hit single, Clouds. Because we talked about the water cycle, I wanted to talk about clouds and the different types that form in our atmosphere. As mentioned before, clouds are formed when water vapor attaches to particles in the air, such as dust or pollen. Now I'm going to do an experiment to show you all how clouds are formed. We're going to make a cloud in a jar. It's super easy, super simple. All you need is a glass jar, and I have the lid here for it with some ice cubes in there. Also need some hairspray. And I boiled some water in a pot. So we're gonna go ahead and pour that into the jar. You want it to be about halfway full. Make sure to have an adult to help with that step. So after pouring the water is going to be our water vapor. And what I did was I flipped the lid upside down and I placed some ice cubes in there. So we're going to place that right on top like that. The next step has to happen pretty quickly. So what we're going to do next is we're going to spray the hairspray in the jar. And the reason we're using this hairspray is because it's going to represent the air particles. So the dust, the pollen, smoke, whatever's in the atmosphere, that's what it's going to represent. The water vapor attaches to the particles, and that's how the cloud is formed. So watch what happens. So you can see the water is sticking with the hairspray, forming a cloud. Let's zoom in. And there you have it, a cloud in a jar. Let's see what happens if we spray more hairspray in there. You can see that vapor moving around in there. Let's see what happens if we remove the lid. It's all escaping. Well, there you have it, guys. That's our cloud in a jar. Thank you all so much for joining me and learning about the water cycle and clouds. I hope you learned something new, something interesting. Here in the next few days, take a look outside, observe the clouds around you. You can use your own eyes, or you can use a pair of binoculars. See if you can figure out what kind of cloud they are, or what shapes you see in the clouds. See when the water cycle is occurring all around you. So, see you next week.